Okay, so here we are with another Masters of the Universe Origins unboxing, and this is Trapjaw, Evil and Armed for Combat. And this one's almost unpunched. At least it's still got the little thingy in there. It came loose, but it's still there. Doesn't matter, because I'm going to open it anyway. But yeah, there's a nice piece of artwork on the back, as usual, with Trapjaw sliding down a rope, string not included. And it says, the cybernetic criminal can literally arm himself with any weapon he needs for battle. And you can plug in laser gun, hook, or pincers into arm. Open and close Trapjaw. Open and close jaw for biting action. I actually can read. It's just that, like, whenever I'm trying to read it from the back here, I'm trying to read it off my monitor, and it's backwards. So, you know, that's difficult. So, and then the other cross-cell figures on the back here is Manny Faces, which I already have. Orko, which should also be arriving today, but it's split into 2 shipments, which are both being shipped to my house separately. I don't know how Amazon does things. I don't know why they do things the way they do, but this is how they're doing it, so I just have to tolerate it. And then Scareglow, which I also have on pre-order, but hasn't shipped to me yet. I say pre-order, but of course these are figures that came out, like, you know, months ago. I saw people finding them in stores like before Christmas, and I never had that kind of luck. But thankfully I was able to get them on Amazon. So let's go ahead and open them up. Yeah, supposedly these have been showing up at Walmarts, and supposedly these have been showing up at Targets, but both my local Walmart and Target have failed me. So I had to order them off of Amazon. And we got this comic book again, which is the one with Skeletor disguised as Orko. So I've already been over that comic book. We don't need to discuss it again. And the card back came completely loose. So I'm going to stick this over here with my other card backs. And we'll go ahead and take Trapjaw out of the package. And let me get my handy-dandy X-Acto knife so I can cut through the damnable rubber bands. Which everybody knows I hate rubber bands in my action figure packages. I like rubber bands when they're useful, but I hate them when they're in action figure packages. And X-Acto knife keeps wanting to roll away. I think it'll be safe there now. I might as well use the X-Acto knife also and cut through the bag with the accessories. Let's tape the back so we can cut that loose. And then I'll go ahead and cut that open. And then I can just put my X-Acto knife away where it belongs. I don't have to worry about it anymore. That seems like that would be the smartest thing to do, doesn't it? It's probably why it didn't occur to me. You know what, I have the Snyder Cut playing while I'm doing this. I've seen the Snyder Cut like several times now, so I don't need to listen to it. I can just let it play. But I do love me some Snyder Cut. That's some good Justice League right there. Way better than the theatrical one. Alright, so let's go ahead and can't talk. Get his accessories out of the bag, and here we go, the hook, which, looks about like how I remember the hook as being, and the laser Tron, which looks about as I remember the laser Tron as being, and the pincers, which are much more narrow than I remember his pincers as being. So, I don't know why they did that. Maybe just to save money on plastic. Oh, another thing that's worth noting is this peg, I think, is much smaller. It looks like to me it's much smaller than the one that went on the old figure. So if you were hoping to use some extra Trapjaw accessories on your older Trapjaw figure, I don't think that's going to happen. Alright, get the rubber band loose from him. And here we have Trapjaw, and he is an ugly SOB, as he ought to be. And it looks like they put a little more green paint onto the forearm than the original figure had. As I remember, they just kind of painted, like, the wristband area and it just kind of stops short of the rest of the elbow armor. But this one, you can see that the green paint goes all the way up to the top of his elbow. And none of his other armor is painted in. It always really confused me when I was a kid that he had all this armor on his arm that was like the same color as his skin. But, you know, his bionic arm obviously is a completely different color. So that always struck me as strange. If you look at the original design of the character, which you can see in the mini-comic, they used a He-Man body for that, so he would have had He-Man type legs and a He-Man type arm over here. But sometime in between, they decided to use some of these Man-E-Faces parts. I guess probably to recoup some of the cost of that. Even though I want to say that, yeah, the arm is actually different from Man-E-Faces, even though it was obviously based on the same mold. It had this sort of gear on his shoulder, whereas Man-E-Faces had something that looked more sort of like a military rank insignia. But whatever. His arm has a nice little articulation here, so you can actually move him at the elbow. Moves around like this. When I was a kid, I always thought that Trapjaw's arm should have had an articulation there, because it would have fit in really well like this one does. You would have even been hidden by the design of it. But he didn't. It was just a straight arm, and it always disappointed me. So I like that this one has an articulation here. One other thing I noticed is that Trapjaw, this iteration of Trapjaw, the blue is maybe a little lighter, the green is maybe a little lighter, but the magenta portions of him are definitely lighter. They're like way, way brighter. It's almost pink how bright this is, whereas the other one was more sort of wine colored. But yeah, and then let's try the articulation at the jaw. Yeah, there's closed, open. That's pretty nice. Let's take his head off for a second. And for whatever reason, he has a different type of neck from the other one. Maybe that's to make it so that his head moves a little better, but I don't think it does. I think it moves about the same as the others. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to grab another figure real quick. Okay, so we got He-Man here. So we can try to change around some parts with him and see how it looks. Another difference I notice is that whereas He-Man and most of the other figures have like a ball joint that's like a separate piece here that can actually move on its own, Trapjaw's ball joint is actually one solid piece with the torso, and in fact, you can see where the seam is in the plastic. So, the ball is actually all on the front piece. So that's how that works. Anyway, let's put a He-Man head on here and see how that looks. And it's maybe a little giraffe-y, but just a little. And you can kind of see the space there. So that's not too good. Let's see how Trapjaw's head looks on a He-Man. If I can even get it on there. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it on there. So what I suspect happened, what I figure is probably the case, is if you look at the way that the inside of the head is done, you can see where the jaw pegs into the inside of the head. So I'm guessing what they had to do was they had to resculpt the neck a little bit so that they could fit the head in with the mechanism. And that's probably why it's designed that way. So, and also, another thing is that, like, this isn't a separate piece here. This is actually a piece that's molded onto the figure. So if you're like me, and you were planning on doing a mini-comic style Trapjaw by using some parts from Man-at-Arms, you're not going to be able to use all of them. You could probably use the arm here, because I'm pretty sure that'll still come off. Yeah, it still comes off like normal. And will the He-Man arm fit into that? Yeah, He-Man's arm fits into that just fine. So you could probably still use the man. There went his sword. I should have kept a better grip on that. I'll pick it up in a minute. And finish the video first. Be professional. So yeah, you could still use the man-at-arms arm and the legs, but you would not be able to use the torso. So it would probably still be good to do that, just because, like I said, it should be molded in that He-Man sort of mold, and it would already be a green color, so you wouldn't have to worry too much about paint chipping, except for on the torso. So, okay, so we've seen how the figure disassembles. We've seen how parts interchange with other parts. Now let's get to the part that I'm sure all you want to see, which is putting the weapons into the arm and seeing how that works. And it actually works pretty well. Fits in there pretty snugly. You can see it ain't falling off or anything, so that's good. And it's got way more articulation than the original one had, where it was just this simple cut here, where he can move his arm up and down, but now you can tilt the arm inward, tilt the arm outward. You got the articulation at the elbow, both to swivel this way and to go up and down. So that's cool. Alright, so let's take the pincers off, and we're going to put the pincers onto his belt, because he's got the little slots where you can hang the weaponry, just like the original one. Let's see how he looks with the hook. Nice, basic, simple accessory, but it's good to have. So, this is why I always thought of Trapjaw as being kind of like a pirate, because he had that pirate hook. And whenever I played with Trapjaw, I'd have him talk in a pirate type of voice, too. Which then they had him on the cartoon, and he didn't sound anything like that. But I always still had imagined Trapjaw as sounding somewhat like a pirate. So, anyway. And then you got the Lasertron, which is my personal favorite. And unlike the original toy, since he now has a better articulated arm, maybe we can actually line up the scope so it looks like he can be using it in a functional manner. I still don't think it quite can reach. Maybe if... not quite. It looks better, though. I think that looks really cool. And when I was a kid, since, like, you know, he always had the straight arm, it always just looked kind of goofy when he had it down to his side, because it looked way too long. But since he has an elbow articulation now, I can have him bend the elbow up and more sort of shoot from the hip, or, like I said, kind of line of sight. It doesn't line up exactly with the scope, but I think it lines up, you know, good enough, definitely better than what it used to when I was a kid. My one complaint that I'm going to have about this figure is I don't like the way they did his eyeballs. Which, if you look at it, they painted in his entire eye in black, and then gave him like a white pupil, or iris, or whatever that's supposed to be, and it just looks strange. It's like the opposite of what it ought to be. Now, the original figure, they didn't bother to paint in the whites of the eyes. They just painted like a black iris on there, and he had some eyebrows. And this one does away with the eyebrows entirely, and paints in black whites and white iris, and it's just strange looking. To me, it doesn't look quite right. So probably at some point, I'm going to repaint his eyeballs so they look more like, not more like the original figure, because I want him to have actual whites in the eyes, not just greens. But maybe to look more like the Filmation cartoon. I think that would look really good. The jaw, I think, looks good in pretty much any position you can get into. He's got like a great expression sculpted onto his face. It's not quite as good as the Masters of the Universe Classics Trapjaw, where they actually bothered to sculpt in his tongue underneath and some pretty disgusting scarring, so it gave it like a nice flavor to it. This one's like the original toy. It's just kind of a smooth, blank, black area, but, you know, I think it still works. It gets the point across. So, Trapjaw is pretty awesome. I'm really happy with him. I think anybody who is collecting Masters of the Universe Classics would want to have this guy as part of their collection. He's obviously a key character. He's one of, you know, probably the most popular villains in the entire franchise. And he looks great. And he's got a lot of great accessories, a lot of great play value. Kids will love playing with this guy. He's gross and scary looking, and he's got weapons that attach to his arms. And how can you not love that? Oh, hey, look at, I forgot all about that too. He's got a Jolly Roger on his belt, which adds to the whole sort of pirate feel that I thought this character always had. So no wonder I had him, pretending like he was a pirate. Arr! I'll get you yet, He-Man. Arr! So yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's pretty much it for Trapjaw. Hopefully in a few hours I'll be getting my Orko figure to review, but I might not post that video today. I might wait until tomorrow to post it. So I've got a video to post for tomorrow. I've been trying to parcel these out a little bit more since it's getting less and less frequent that I can find these guys. So hopefully maybe Walmart and Target will start to stock these guys a little bit more. Man, I really miss Toys R Us. If Toys R Us was still around, we probably wouldn't be having this problem. Toys R Us probably would have ordered tons of these things. And yeah, I might have to pay $1 or $2 more than I would at Walmart or Target or even what I pay on Amazon, but at least they'd be available to me, so I wouldn't mind so much. Anyway, that's pretty much it for Trapjaw, and we're going to see you next time. Bye.